Welcome. I'm Scotty and welcome to Scotty's Toy Box. And hopefully I've got the setup correct this time. Alrighty, well it's been an interesting morning here. I hope yours has. Grab a chunk of that there internet while we still got some. Have a sit down with your favorite drink and let's get into the meat of this subject. This video may go a little longer than I like, so be aware that just stop it and start it as you like, as anybody can. If it's too long, I'll try to break it into two parts. But it was a requested video. Somebody asked me about my thoughts on suicide, euthanasia, pro-life, end of life issues, I should say. Pro-life and end-of-life issues. Now, I've got my notes over here on my other screen, so I actually took notes this time, so it may not be as sidetracking as always, but I doubt it. It probably will be. Under suicide, I wrote down questions like, would you try to talk someone out of committing a suicide? Well, I'll be honest with you. That depends upon the situation. If you come across somebody on a bridge and they're about to jump and you start talking to them and the issues that they're dealing with seem surmountable, and you can offer positive reinforcements and have the ability to positively affect them, then yes, I would try to talk somebody out of that. I'm going to tell you right now, if somebody wants to commit suicide, they're going to. They're going to find a way. A lot of times, an attempted suicide is an attempt to get attention. Call attention to a problem. Now, I'm not saying that's like an attention-seeking child or young adult who, just wants to be the center of everything going on. No, suicidal people have needs that maybe the rest of us don't feel. And so they have to have those needs addressed more professionally than I can do it, but in a deeper way than most of us can handle. I know people who have attempted suicide. Don't think I know anybody who succeeded, but in the cases I know of, with like one just simply had to get out of a bad marriage. Once they got out of the things that were causing them problems and got the help they needed, they went on to live very nice, happy lives. This does not mean that every time somebody tries to get out of a situation that it's going to be a fairy tale ending. I'm just saying that there are reasons why people are committing these acts and why they think the way they do, whether it be mental illness, whether it be severe depression, whether that there's everything that's just gone bottoms up and they can't stand it anymore. So yes, I would try in certain circumstances. Now, if a situation is where I'm making the situation worse by trying to get involved, back off. Don't try to be the hero. None of us is the hero. We can be the hero of the moment sometimes, but none of us is a superhero on comic book. We're not going to swoop in and save somebody from, doing something if we're making the situation worse. If you're making the situation worse, take your ego out of it and get out of it. All right. Are there good reasons to commit suicide? Yes, and I'll get into that later on when we talk about euthanasia or doctor-assisted suicide. Maybe I should address it right now. Basically, if you're in a terminal situation, if you're in a situation that cannot be remedied medically, if your quality of life has come to the negatives that cannot be withstood, then it is merciful to help you or to let you suicide. But I'll get into more of that later. Does age or health or economic status make a difference? Well, yes, it does. That may not be something that we like to address in this country, but it is the truth. Wealthy people can afford more doctors. They can afford better medical care. Look, there is no way that the hospital I worked in can compete with Walter Reed where senators go. When you have a private suite for yourself, and private on-duty nursing staff that wait just on you. Regional hospitals can't compete with this. County mental health people cannot compete with doctors making $300-400 an hour. Should they be making that is another question we'll get into sometime in the future. Don't get me riled up on that now. But the fact is, we have economic, social differences in this country. It shouldn't be, but it is. So, it does make a difference. It makes a difference whether you're 90 and whether you're 14. If you're 60 and you are, terminally ill, bad health, cancer-ridden. I've seen people who could not get out of bed who just hated every breathing moment of their life. Well, if that's the way you've got to live. I'll tell you a true story. My maternal grandfather had prostate cancer. And this was back in the 70s when being 70 and older was quite a thing. He got to the point where he would get up, he would eat breakfast, he would lay down, sleep till noon, get up, eat his lunch, half a bite of a sandwich, whatever, and he would lay down till supper, get up. He was not doing anything else than that. Just that alone. Well, the doctor told him that if they operated, he might die on the table. His health was not very good. My grandfather looked at him and said, "What's the difference? I'm not living now. I'm not living now." Well, if you're not living, then you died. Because that's what we are doing every day, every moment. I'm doing it right now. I'm living. Part of my living is getting to talk to every one of you. But there are a lot of people who are not living, who would just as soon die. And a lot of people that would prefer to die are holding on simply because of the fear of what comes next. It's not the fear of loss of life. It's the fear of what's next. I know a woman who died, and I'll get into that later, whose whole reason for staying alive was she was scared of death. That saddens me. I'm not scared of death. I'm not scared of what comes after. I have died, clinically, but, it's still considered a clinical death. And I was I was resuscitated, and I have a good life, and I'm glad I was. But anyway, that's another issue. Mental health issues. Gosh, that is another significant issue for suicide. Quite frankly, I've struggled with issues of my own. And when they hit, they hit hard. So I can partially understand. But I know people online who have severe issues. And I cannot understand them. And I can't really help them other to say that I'm here. If you need me, if you want me, if there's something you think I can do, because I really don't know what you're going through, and I really have no idea of what words will work for you, what situations work for you in that. So, this covers basically where I wanted to go with suicide. It says here, suicide is the act of intentionally causing one's own death. Risk factors include mental disorders such as depression, bipolar disorders, schizophrenia, personality disorders, and substance abuse, including alcoholism and the use of benzodiazepines, drugs. Although I had a friend of mine once in the military say reality was for people who just couldn't stand to do good drugs. Take it for what it's worth. Now, so that's 10 minutes into this, and I've discussed suicide. So let's discuss it a little bit more. Are there times I think suicide is appropriate? And that answer to that is a simple, honest yes. Is it regrettable? Most certainly. I grow angry every single time I hear of a young person taking their own life because of bullying, because of taunting, because their life has been made miserable by other people, and by God, that loss of life ought to hang around those people's necks like a millstone. I do not support the end of life, those kind of issues. Somebody started a campaign, I think it was Dan Savage, the Trevor Project, and that it gets better. Well, for most of us it does. For some it doesn't. But no 10-year-old should feel so bad about themselves that death is an alternative. No 14-year-old should be so alone that they have nowhere to turn. And if you know of these people, if you have friends, nephews, nieces, neighbors who are in these conditions, reach out, do something. If you are afraid to get involved yourself, contact a program, contact a mental health, contact, if you're close enough to the family and can be involved, let the parents in on what's going on. If the parents are part of the problem, then contact social services. There is a way. All right, this is 12 minutes, and it's been on my view of suicide. If you have any other comments, if you want to know anything else, you got suggestions, or you just want to have me explain a little deeper on what I'm talking about, please let me know. This has been Scotty, and I'm going to post this on Scotty's Toy Box and my YouTube channel, and this is my thoughts on suicide.